And here we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is einav with Untangled Healing, and with me today, Cortney Whitebay. Courtney, hello. So lovely to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Lovely. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about you.
So, my name is Cortney Whitebay. I'm an exercise physiologist by education, and I did my degree in a couple different places. I started it at Trinity College of Dublin in the UK, and then I restarted again in the United States on Long Island in New York. So a little bit of interesting travel mixed in there, which gave me some fun perspectives. The two programs were very, very different, even though they were the same subject. So that was kind of cool. And from there, I went into clinical care after graduate school. And I worked doing cardiac stress testing and pulmonary stress testing and cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab. And it was really something that I felt was really needed in the world. I still feel like that it's very, very necessary. But there were so many things with that were terrible that in the United States, which is where I'm from, the healthcare system is just really toxic over here. The work environment can be very, very toxic. And it was just a really difficult place to be and to live in. I felt like I was, either in the testing portion of it, I was just like torturing my patients and then sending them on their way. And I never got to see them again. I didn't get to make them an exercise prescription. I didn't get to implement it with them. I didn't get to follow up with them. And that just really killed me. Because I felt like I was working so hard to do this thing that was not nurturing to them. And it's really hard and scary, necessary, but hard and scary if you're not prepared for it. And then when I got into the rehab side of it, it was like the opposite. It was like so easy. It was the same thing over and over again. Nobody wanted to put the effort in because you only got 5 minutes on each cardio machine and like 2 minutes on a resistance machine. And like, you weren't able to like really get into it with somebody, and you weren't really able to dig deep and push them just a little bit harder and like concentrate on them. You know what I mean? So I feel like people fell through the cracks in that way too, where it's like we're running around doing our best to support everybody as, the exercise physiologists running it and everything. And the takeaway is good, but it could have just been so much better, And so my heart was just like so frustrated. I was like, I gotta do more, because when I was in school, I got to do everything. I got to do the testing, the prescription, the implementation. I ran the program from ground up with my colleagues. I got to work with the student athletes. I got to do their strength and conditioning. I got to teach gym classes, which was actually my least favorite in the college. And I got to like teach classes too to the undergraduates. So like I just got to do all these really cool things, and then I got a job and like I could only do one like tiny little thing. And it just didn't feel like I was making as big of an impact. And then couple that with getting pregnant and having a baby, and not that I couldn't have worked and made that work in terms of like having a kid and working at the same time. Lots of people do it. But the real problem, other than the fact that I was just emotionally and spiritually dying in this job, was that my salary did not cover childcare and living expenses. So I actually would have lost money every month working. And that's when I decided, all right, I can't do this. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to raise my daughter. I never wanted her to be in childcare for like long term anyway. I really wanted to be the primary caregiver. And so I decided to stay home, and that lasted about 9 to 10 months before I was just going stir crazy, and I started my own business. And that allowed me to be home with her most of the time and be that primary caregiver. And it allowed me to use my skills in the way that I wanted to use them, in the way I felt was most effective and best for the most people that I could reach. And just kind of just get myself back out there. So like I was mentally and physically becoming more fulfilled, and I was also able to take care of my daughter in the way that I wanted it to, and I was able to take care of the people that I worked with in the way that I wanted to, and not in the way that somebody told me I had to, which is often not how people need to be taken care of. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Excellent, excellent. And so now, who are these people that come to you? I mean, is it I mean, you mentioned rehabilitation, so people, um, I'll let you answer.
Yeah.
But who are the people that come to you?
So in the beginning, it was I was really marketing myself more as like a post physical therapy or post cardiac rehab personal trainer. So somebody who would be happy to have you as a client, even with some scary stuff going on, like, so if you needed a little bit of extra attention in terms of your heart health, or being a sounding board, looking over your blood work so that you can go back and ask the right questions with your doctor, or you had an injury and you needed your insurance is up on the physical therapy, but you still need to work on your body. Or another common thing that happens is somebody gets a knee replacement on the right side, but it took a year to do that, and then 6 months of rehab. And so your left knee has been bearing the brunt of all of that for that whole entire time, sometimes even longer, 5 years, 6 years, So your left knee, which was your good knee, is now your bad knee. So I kind of would come in or they would come in and we would work on creating the whole body alignment, making sure that every part of your body was serviced, not just that one joint. And that's the thing that's so frustrating over here with physical therapy, is that it's really insurance wise, it's written in. So you're only working on that one joint. And then it expands. Like if that one joint is off, well, then the joint above it and below it can be off. The muscles on your other side can be off, like other side. And if your knee's off, your left shoulder could be off if your right knee's off, like weird stuff like that, like the different chains that are happening. So that was predominantly who I saw in the beginning. And I started 10, 11 years ago. And now I still get mostly people who are either in a space like that, where they need somebody who has a deeper understanding and knowledge of the human body and physiology and all of that sort of stuff, above and beyond, a GED, high school graduation, and a certification that anybody can get for like $250 and a little bit of studying, which there's a time and a place for those people for sure. That's all well and good. But I usually attract the people who feel like they need more care, more support, more emotional intelligence. One of my clients came to me and she said, I was a child athlete. I left home at the age of 12, 13 years old and trained after that. And it was a really toxic environment. There are certain movements. We were talking about the books on trauma and movement. And she was like, if I'm doing something and I just need to stop, it might not be physical, it might be emotional. I just need you to not push me, because that's what they did to me. And I just maybe will need a little bit of a break, and we can maybe circle back to it another time. But I need you to be emotionally intelligent enough that you're not going to put me into an emotional spiral from a physical event. So I still attract a lot of people who are just having problems, pain, anxiety, frustration, a feeling of they just don't know it. Like everything feels like it's crumbling and they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. And I kind of take them in and I'm like, okay, just lay it all down. Everything can be going crazy in your mind. Your systems can be going haywire. Your body can hurt. And just take a deep breath and leave it with me. And we're just going to start with this one tiny little thing. And you don't need to know what you have to do. You don't need to know what your next steps are. Just come and be here, and then we'll go on from there. So that really frazzled. I don't even know how to explain it. It's brain foggy, but it's complete overwhelm of you know that there's multiple things wrong, but you don't know what it is. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. Those people.
Right. So do I understand that basically when you meet with these people, you basically, it is the mind-body connection, but you kind of looking at the body, how to help it move forward while also taking into account whatever is happening in the mind.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with a few children, various ages, mostly teenagers, but I had one parent say, I want my kid to work with you, and here's this and here's that. This happened and that happened, but his doctors say he's fine. So whatever it is just all in his head. It's just psychosomatic. And I was like, okay, but there's no such thing as like just psychosomatic.
Yeah.
And it was really also very frustrating because the person was actually in the mental health field. And so then she was saying like, oh, it's all in my kid's head. And I can, and I was like, I really hope you're not, that's like not what you're putting out into this world, because it's, yes, these things are, of course, we have lots of stuff in our head, but those mental things and emotional things manifest as physical responses. So if somebody's having a physical response to something, then maybe that emotional thing has to be cleared up, or vice versa. So I just work really hard to not be dismissive of those things, while at the same time trying to help them have self accountability and empower themselves, rather than me being, I mean, maybe I am still the leader, I'm still the person who's leading them through the journey, but I'm not the actual one doing the work. I'm not the one making the decision to do the work or to not do the work. I am not physically moving. I am not in their brains. My goal is to really put the power back into their hands, and teach them, if they don't already know this or if they've forgotten, that they actually are the only ones in the entire world who have the power to make themselves better and to heal their mind and their body. Nobody else has that power. No medication, no doctor, no anybody. It's within themselves. And if they don't know that, because most people don't know that, they say like, oh, I'm sick, I have to go get treated by somebody to fix me. No. Like, I might need to go get some help and guidance. I might need to go get some herbs or some whatever. And then I'm going to take those and nourish myself and allow myself to heal. It's just a different kind of a mindset. And I try to be really cognizant of that, because the more people realize that they are in control, and I don't mean like cerebrally in control of every little piece of every little thing, but they are in control in a broad sense of their health, their well-being, their life, their goals, their everything.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely exactly what I so believe in, in the mind-body connection, and a lot of the things that I kind of keep hearing and really believing, that people believe that they feel the pain, that it must mean that something is broken inside of their body, but actually it's really about how is the mind connected to it, what is actually going on. And a lot of the time, the physical manifestation is not actually what is causing you the pain. It's there, but there is something else. So having a completely different kind of conversation is definitely needed.
For sure. And I try to marry the two, because I think you can't, like, they're inextricably, you cannot unentangle them. There is no disentanglement happening here. They will always be entangled. So like, it's kind of bringing light to like, okay, you've got a headache today, and I generally, because my background is in exercise and my background is in body, right? My background's not in spirit and mind formally. So I go to like, oh, did you drink enough water? Did you eat well last night and this morning? Did you go to the bathroom? Like, sometimes you just have to go to the bathroom, and even that can give you a headache. Were you drinking alcohol the night before? Or all sorts of little things. Or did you jump on a trampoline and kind of like just tweak, some of your cervical spine or something like that, and it's like it needs to be reset and put back into place with an adjustment or something. Those kind of things are those are like physical, manifesting into physical, right? Of course, there could be an emotional root to why you chose to do those physical things. We could take it deeper like that. Versus like, oh, I've got a really big meeting today, or I have to go drop my kid off with their dad, and I don't like the way that he runs things in his home. So like, it makes me really nervous that I have to drop my kid off over there because I'm not with my child anymore. or like, oh God, my boss is coming in today and they're doing an audit, or I have to have this really hard conversation with a friend of mine or with my spouse. Like, and then those things are going to give you headaches. Or for me, it was course 2 math in high school in like 10th grade. I got a headache every single day for the entire semester that I had this math class. I got it like 15 minutes before the class started. Didn't go away until I woke up the next morning. And if I was lucky, it was gone. But it was just the stress and anticipation of that math class and having to like make it through that. That was a mental, emotional manifestation of pain in my body that just was really terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I meant was really about the more when it's chronic, not like if it's a one off. When you have a chronic pain, that's when I'm saying actually,
Oh yes,
we need to look at something deeper than just the symptoms that you're displaying. But absolutely,
yeah,
I,
and it could go for sure. Yeah, yes. Is it Louise Hay has a book that goes through, if I'm not mistaken, the different physical manifestations of emotions in like each different part of your body. So it's like if there's itching, it's relates to this. If it's something on your foot, it's related to if you're moving forward. If it's stress in your shoulders, it's a feeling of what do you call it, like carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, like you're taking on too much responsibility, you don't have good enough boundaries. So you're going to have that stress manifest in that place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's really interesting too.
Really, really interesting. So before we move on to hearing a little bit about the program that you have coming soon, tell me. So we call this the talk, right? The headline was heal your metabolism to heal your body. How are we specifically connecting metabolism into all of this?
Yeah, so our metabolisms are like our metabolism is basically our energy system, right? We have, we can store energy anabolically, we can break it down and use it catabolically, and we need to have both, right? So we have your anabolic energy getting stored, and so when you eat, we break things down. Our everything gets broken down into sugars, proteins, fat, whatever. It all gets broken down, and then, or maybe I'm saying that wrong, sorry. But we eat all of the stuff, right? And it all gets broken down, and then it all gets stored. Whatever we don't use, it all gets stored into our fat cells, into our adipocytes, right? And then, like if we're eating in the wrong way, if things are a little bit haywire or whatever, we end up storing more fat than we want to store. And then we look at ourselves and we're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in my skin. This doesn't like really line up with who I feel like I am. And this is really confusing, right? And then you have to go buy a new wardrobe and it's really frustrating. Versus the other way around where we actually will take, and I always remembered this because Cortney starts with C and catabolism starts with C. And I always had this negative self-talk to myself. And I was like, Cortney tears you down. It's terrible. But that's how I remembered like a catabolic reaction was one that broke things apart. I have to heal that part of myself too, right? So I don't really say that anymore. But like back in the day, that's how I always remembered it. But we break it down, we use it as energy so we can move, so we can dance, so we can go for a walk with our kids, so we can hike, so we can do all the fun things, right? And so this is our metabolism in short. We are storing energy or we're using energy, right? We can store it in different places too. We can actually store it in our muscles as well, which is really useful. And there's ways that we can kind of go about doing that. Like you go for a good workout and then you go ahead and eat like some carbs right after that, and then it gets stored as glycogen in your muscles, and then it's like readily available for the next time you have to go run somewhere. Anyway, I digress. That was just a cool little point. So if our metabolism is off, and it's a much bigger thing than this. When I was in cardiac rehab, we really talked about if your metabolism is too slow, probably means you don't have enough muscle mass. You're going to be more metabolically active the more muscle you have. Of course, your fat is also still needs to be fed. Like it actually has its own, blood systems. It creates its own circulatory system, right? So your body has to have energy to service fat and to service muscle, both of them. but more metabolically active is your muscle. So if we can start to build more muscle, we can burn more calories or more energy when we're resting. A lot of other things are going to start to just perk up as well. So when we get our metabolism more into balance, that's when our body starts to function better. We're going to stop seeing so much pre-diabetes, things like that. When you have a metabolic syndrome that's starting to say, okay, things are out of balance. Sometimes it's like there's too much fat storage and the pancreas can't keep up with insulin production to service all of that, to get it out, to turn it into all of the things, or to put it in, and getting it in and out of storage. I mean, if you think about it, it's like our bodies are a big, huge Amazon center, and you have to have enough worker bees to go and get all the packages and put them where they need to go and put them back. And then if the workers are like, this is too hard, and then they quit, or the machinery that has to move the big packages around, it gets tired too, and that starts to break down. Well, and then you start to have the metabolic issues, you start to have the pre-diabetes, you start to have the diabetes, you start to have like the really bad diabetes, right? Mm-hmm. There's different degrees of it, just like anything else. And so if you can start to heal that, if you can start to eat in a way and move in a way that works better for your system, you can start to heal your metabolism, and that is going to do all sorts of things. Your skin is going to clear up. Because you're going to be eating better. The foods that you're putting into your body are going to be better. You're going to hydrate more. You're going to sleep better. You're going to probably not have so many mood swings. And I know that sounds like a little bit weird, but when the metabolism is wacky, blood sugars are wacky. They go hand in hand, and you get hangry, right? And you have all of these things. Or you get headaches because you haven't eaten, or you get headaches because you've eaten too much sugar. Mm-hmm. So it's really just managing that and balancing that out so that brain fog starts to go away. So these are all things. Your mood is going to start to improve. That's very healing. Your brain fog is going to start to improve. That's very healing. And then all of these things you can also then use to move forward in your life better, because if you are not living around your meals, like, oh, if I don't eat, I'm going to feel faint. If I don't eat, I'm going to be angry. I'm not going to make it through this meeting. Like whatever. You're not living your life to the fullest, and you're not going to be able to hit all of those goals in the way that you want to, because you're being held back by these other things. So that's kind of the short of it. Yes. There's a lot of ways that you can really service that. Like the basically 5 pillars is eating healthy. And I always like to say, like, eat as organic as you can, eat as locally as you can, eat as fresh as you can. If you're going to eat meat, eat it as humanely as you can. It drives me nuts because we have chickens. We have like 25 chickens in our backyard. And when you go into the store and you see a chicken, or you see the eggs or whatever, and it's like all vegetarian fed. And if you have chickens, you know that they are absolutely not vegetarians at all. I once saw one of my chickens trying to eat a snake. Oh. It was really weird. It was really weird. But, if the animals are not being fed their natural diet, then their meat and their eggs are not going to be feeding you your natural diet. So just eating as well as you can, as pastured. And then, of course, like a happy animal is going to have better balance of chemicals and hormones in their body, which is going to be better for you. If you're going to eat factory raised beef, say, it actually does have omegas in it, but they're inverted. They're swapped. The omega-3s and 6s are in the wrong order, concentration wise. So you're eating these things, and like when you only really think of it for fish, but you want it for like your brain health, right? and reduced inflammation. Well, if you're going to eat factory farmed meat, a lot of times it's actually swapped the other way, and the inflammation is very, very high. And so then you're taking that into your body, and that is going to also disrupt your metabolic system and everything else. So making sure that you eat as organic, as fresh, as local, as humane as possible, and in whatever your choices are, and just making sure it feels good in your body. Like if it's sending you to the bathroom, it's probably not good for you. Like you shouldn't, have like too much. I mean, yes, your bowels are going to move after a meal a lot of times, and that's great. But like, is it like a good movement, or is it like, oh my God, can't, or I can't eat when I'm out because, like that's not good. And then daily movement, obviously my favorite, is making sure that you're getting out and moving every day. Not only is that going to help filter through all the systems, but it's also going to take some of that energy out of your body and use it the way, we're supposed to use it. And it's going to also create more muscle, which is going to create a higher metabolic rate. And there's some cool stuff you can check out on like little calculators and things. You can see like what your basal metabolic rate is, depending on how much time you spend sleeping and exercising and sitting and doing all different things. And you can see like basically how many calories your body needs to just exist in rest. That's like your basal metabolic rate. If you slept all day long, how much energy would your body need? Well, that's like the absolute minimum. And I do think actually this is a really good point. If anybody is using any of the apps in order to lose or maintain weight, and usually to lose weight, you have to be really careful, because you cannot take, I'm going to just speak not from a non-medical perspective here. I'm not a doctor. So if you're talking to your doctor, I'm not going to override that, obviously. You do not want to consume fewer calories than your metabolic rate, your basal metabolic rate. Mm-hmm. Your basal metabolic rate is the minimum you need to survive on a daily basis, just at rest. And a lot of the apps will actually allow you to set your weight loss goals below that level and encourage you to eat less calories than you need to use in a day for just sleeping. And I guarantee you nobody is sleeping for 24 hours unless they're in a coma in the hospital. So I just want everybody to be really mindful of that. Like you can, maybe you're supposed to take in 4,000 calories. That's a lot, but 4,000 calories a day, but you want to lose some weight. So you can cut that down to like 3,000, and 2,000 is your basal metabolic rate. Those are just easy numbers. That's totally fine. But just be mindful that you're not overdoing it, because that's going to send things haywire as well.
Yeah.
And then just a couple other things, stress management. Stress management is going to really help you heal your metabolic system in whatever way that is, whether it's a therapeutic thing or yoga, meditation, even just going out for a walk, which I know sounds like exercise, but going out for a walk and just the fresh air and getting the sun's rays and just looking out into the distance, like that's very meditative, very relaxing as well. Maybe you have a coach that's helping you with that relaxation part, or a meditation coach specifically. Like all of these things exist. Healthy connections is another one that's really healing, and it's going to be really important. Actually having healthy connections and community is the number one predictor of your lifespan. So if anything, like I was always like, no, you have to exercise. It's like, that's the thing. And then I was like, oh no, it's nutrition. Nutrition is really the root. And then I read this study and I was like, oh shit, it's not either one of those. It's connection.
Connection.
I'm like, no, what I do is still really important. It is. They're all really important. But just encouraging you to like, go out with friends, to connect with your loved ones, to have those meetings, those gatherings, however it is. I think that's part of the reason why COVID was so hard, and we're going to see such interesting stuff happening as a result of that, is that we were cut off from human connection. That is the absolute most important thing that we have in our lives to keep us healthy, strong, happy, and all the things. And then, if you're not getting enough from your food in the way that you're consuming it, or you feel like you've got gaps, then really powerful supplementation, like high quality supplementation. Make sure you're not, you're researching the company that you're using and the products that you're using. And the same with food. that they're as close to food as you can get, as unsynthetic as you can get, as close to food as you can get, and just that they feel good in your body and that they're not making you feel sick. My mom was big into vitamins when I was a kid. I remember I almost had to stay home from school one day because she got like a new multivitamin. It was like a horse pill kind of a thing. And I took one of these and I felt so sick to my stomach for so long in the morning that I almost was like called out of school. I was like, I cannot go to school feeling like I felt like I was going to throw up for like an hour. And it was the vitamin, it was the vitamin. I was like, oh my God, like I can't take this. And so just if you are going to do supplementation, making sure that it is really good, and that you trust the source and that they do good testing on it and all that kind of stuff. So that's on that.
So, Courtney, we're nearly coming to the end of our time together. In a minute, can you tell us a little bit about the program that you have coming up?
Oh, yes. So I'm kind of rolling all of this stuff into what I call my Empowered Living Program. It's a 6-month container geared towards women in business. Of course, anybody is welcome, but it is geared towards women in business. And it's particularly helpful for people who are in that like frazzled state of like, I don't know what to do. Everything feels like it's wrong. But I know I need to do something, like I'm in pain. I'm not sleeping. I have brain fog. My bowel movements are wretched. My period is crazy. Like I'm not sleeping. My weight is not comfortable for me. I feel like I can't walk into my meeting confidently. My energy is just kaput. I'm short-tempered with my kids. My shoulder hurts. It won't go away. All of these things, right? And each month is broken down into a different topic. And then each week you get a bite-sized piece through email at this point of just like little education and action points. So nutrition and digestion, movement, metabolism, rest, managing stress, toxic load, informed self-care, clearing our sphere of influence. So it's actually clearing our sphere of influence is our first month. So we can kind of clear space away to allow the good things to come in without so much naysaying and negative self-talk and negative outside talk, boundaries. And the meat of the program, the meat and bones of the program, the muscle and bones of the program, is that we meet twice a week and we do what I call a somatic business coaching session twice a week. And what that is a small group personal, because this is a group program, 6-month group program. It's a small group personal training session. So I take you through a warm up, stretching, exercise, cool down, meditation at the end. And then the conversation is geared towards helping you celebrate and share and reach goals and problem solve. And just like whether it's a business thing or a life thing, it's all welcome, because it's, again, you can't separate mind from body. You really can't separate your personal self from your business self either. They're also related. You are not two different people. So a lot of times, we'll go through and we'll celebrate your successes. I'll ask everybody like, what was, a success or something we can celebrate with you. And then we'll go around and we'll say, okay, like what is something you need help with this week? Or what is a goal that you have that we can help hold you accountable to? And, sometimes there's a little bit of peer coaching. Sometimes there's a little coaching and consulting from me. And sometimes there's a little bit of, always a lot of support, So you really get to just kind of use your body physically to open your mind and spirit emotionally, mentally. And then that's when the ideas and the collaborations and all the cool action steps, we end up having action steps at the end that you can take and implement into your business or into your household at the end of each session. So that's really my goal, is that you can come in, you can turn your me time into green time. You can take time for yourself without feeling like you're taking away time from your business development.
Sounds incredible. And so after the conversation, we'll put your social links and of course the link to the group and stuff. So if anyone wants to find out more, they can. Cortney, thank you so much for being here today and for telling us all about your wisdom and your points of view and stuff. I really enjoyed hearing it, and I'm sure that people watching or listening to the replay we'll learn a lot too. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me. I love
Thanks.
being here.